schedule was sent to the Verona City Grove Times, the Star Ledger, the Herald News, and the Township of Verona, and the Verona Education Association. Postings of this meeting setting forth the time, location, and agenda were posted in each of Verona's 6 schools, the board office, and town hall. This posting was also sent to the newspapers, all SCA presidents, and SCA liaisons. The Verona Board of Education operates under a consent agenda format. Any board member has the right to have an item pulled to be voted upon or discussed separately. Copies of tonight's agenda and resolutions have been made available to the public present. Mr. Day?
Here.
Mrs. Fresky? Here. Mr. Yunus?
Here.
Mr. Molino? Here. Mr. Partridge?
Here. Okay, welcome to our March second meeting in March. We have a couple of presentations tonight. Before we get into those, do we have any public comments or question on any of the agenda? Okay, our first presentation is Ms. Julie DiGiacomo's and student, Ms. Julie DiGiacomo and student on our math curriculum to games incentive.
Good evening, everyone. So we asked the children at Lanning who wanted to volunteer for this wonderful opportunity, and these are our brave individuals sitting in the front row. They are so excited to be here. They want to talk to you tonight about extending the curriculum with math games and centers. So I have a little slideshow. It's very short, but I just want to give you a little background before the children speak. What we want to do is share with you how math games and using math centers can really help us to learn math better. So some exciting things are happening in the district, so I want to thank you, board members, and Mr. Dionisio for supporting these district initiatives. We have 3rd and 4th grade teachers. Tonight, my 4th grade teacher, Ms. Solomon, is here. Ms. Solomon waved. Ms. Carter was unable to be here, but my 3rd grade teachers, Ms. Ritchie, Mr. Samples, and Ms. Nardi, were piloting some new curriculum that they worked on over the summer with Glenn Stevenson. The goal of this was to streamline the math curriculum so that we could align our program to the Common Core and better meet the needs of our students. We also received some updated textbooks in 3rd and 4th grade. Our version of Envision Math is now officially aligned to the Common Core, so that is so exciting. We also have teachers in grades K and 4 working with Mr. Miller, the Director of Curriculum, and Glenn Stevenson, the elementary principals, Dr. Lanzo, Rich Rampola, and Jeff Monticelli, and myself, partnering with the grade level teams to lift the rigor of our math assessments using DOK 1, 2, and 3 assessment strategies. So that is really exciting. So really the heart of education and pedagogy is differentiation. And I feel that, along with my colleagues, that if you're not differentiating, you're not, teaching the children, you're teaching a program or, some kind of, curriculum. And we want to teach our children. So although we have great programs and great curriculum, we want to watch our children, study them, find out what they need, and then give them what they need. And that's best practice. So differentiation can occur through content, process, product, or learning environment. So we can mix it up a bit as teachers. We can say, okay, we want to change the content. We want to ask them to learn different things. We want to change the process in how we're asking them to do things. We might even want to change the product and ask them to do different, and in mind might be a little different. Somebody might be working on a commercial, somebody else might be working on a book review. We want to mix it up in the learning environment and give children the opportunity to work in small groups, work with their peers, work with their teachers. So there's some exciting things we can do to differentiate. Math games are not just games. I mean, it sounds like, well, we're playing games, but they're instructional tools. And I think that games allow children to engage, and the children will talk about this more, in a developmentally appropriate manner while having fun, and that's the bonus. Math games can be adjusted to accommodate content, process, and product. So you could take the same game and you can lift the level of gameplay. You can change the rules. You can have different games affect different skills and strategies. You might even want to change the process of how they play games. You might want them to play with the teacher in a small group, or you might want them to play with partners. So there's lots of exciting things you can do. And really, centers, which the children are going to take over right now and share some of their exciting work with their teachers in the classroom, but centers are really affecting the learning environment. So you have small group instruction, and then the teacher actually gets the opportunity to float around the room and work with children individually or in small groups. So at this time, I want to turn over the presentation to Astrid Burns.
Hello, my name is Astrid Burns. Hello, my name is Astrid Burns, and I'm a 4th grader at Raymond School in the Solomons class. In our class, we do math centers usually once or twice a week. Sometimes we even get to do them for the whole week. We do a lot of math, and the Solomon likes to talk to us in small groups to see how we are doing. Working in groups is great because if you don't know something, you can ask about for help, and we get to learn by doing it.
Hello, my name is Nancy Webb, and I'm also a 4th grader in the science class. When we're doing math centers, there are 4 groups. Sometimes a group can have 5 or 6 people in it. Each group is assigned a game or an activity. There are 2 game groups and 1 review group. The last group works with Miss Solomon. Miss Solomon challenges certain students that are doing well in math and helps others that need more support. Miss Solomon gives a 5-minute warning, and then we wait until she is done with her group, and she tells us when to switch. Every group gets to go to a different center.
Hi, I am Standard. I am 4th grade in Carter. We have lots of different math. Some of them involve dice, some of them involve whiteboard markers, and some cards. All of the games are played for one purpose, to teach us math. The games teach us about multiplication, division, fractions, and more. A lot of times we get to choose the game we want to play. Sometimes we get to rotate games, so we can play everything. This really evens things out. Math games make learning fun.
Hi, my name is Jack Flannery, and I'm in the 2nd grade in Miss Kirby's class. I like math because while I'm concentrating and working hard, I'm having fun at the same time. Some of the games I put on computers, reading math books, and on math papers and building math problems. Sometimes in the middle of math centers and math games, Miss Kirby comes to our groups and says, How are you doing? How are these games? Miss Kirby wants to know how the games are working for us.
Hello, my name is Julia Dacey, and I'm in 2nd grade in Mrs. Bantis' class. I like math centers because I'm learning while I'm having fun. My favorite game is usually dice addition or dice subtraction because I can concentrate when I work on these types of problems. I like adding and subtracting. Usually we play with 4 or 5 people, and the goal is to answer as many problems as you can in a certain amount of time. My adding and subtracting have gotten better because of these games. Someday I want to be a math teacher because I love math so much. Hello, my name is Ashley Vargas, and I'm a 4th grader at Landing Avenue School. I'm here to talk about one of our favorite games, Cover the Hole. To play this game, you need fraction blocks or pies and math spinner.
Hello, my name is Noah Boone. Fraction pies and fraction strips represent all different kinds of fractions. Fraction pies are round while fraction strips are rectangular. Certain people like fraction strips more than fraction pies. You can see that A whole pie or strip is blue. The parts of the pie or strip are all different colors. You can see that the 1/4 slice is yellow, and you can put it on the pie. There are also halves, thirds, sixths, eighths, and 12ths. Hi, my name is Maura Shea. When you play cover a hole, the goal is to get as many fraction combinations to get a hole as possible. For example, if you spin the paperclip and it lands on 1/2, you would need to take the piece of the pie that is 1/2 and put it on the hole. You would continue to spin until you get enough fraction combinations to cover the hole. The person that gets the most fraction combination wins. Hello, my name is Verona and I'm also in 4th grade at Lanning in Miss Carter's class. The math behind this game is that it shows us what fraction combination equals a whole on the pie or the fraction strip. It also teaches us that you can add all unlike denominators. For example, if you spin and get a 1/2, you can cover the rest of the fraction with 1/4 or 1/8. This is one of our favorite games because when you are playing and having fun, you are also learning about fractions. Hi, my name is Diomesia and I am in 4th grade in Miss Carter's class. The game I would like to describe to you is called Digit Draw. To play this game, you need a digit sheet. On one sheet, you could play up to 3 rounds. You also need digit cards. The first thing that you do with your opponent when playing this game is decide on a target number between 100 and 200. For example, I picked 171 as a target number. I write that on my record sheet. Then I need to pick a card, and I picked 8. I could put the 8 in the ones place or the tens place, or I could discard it. You could discard up to 2 numbers. In this case, let's say I put the 8 in the tens place. I would do this to try to keep my number high to get close to my target number. Then my opponent would have to decide where his or her 8 would go. You go back and forth like this until all of the boxes in your equation are filled in. Then you add the equation and subtract it from the target number. The person that has the smallest difference wins.
So boys and girls, I just think you did a great job. Board, I'd like to thank you for having us this evening. This was a blast. Anytime we can come back, we're here. Thank you so much. You can see we're working really hard at Lanning Avenue School. We're really thinking about math and how we can differentiate for our students and give them what they need. And I'd like to just thank my teachers, Ms. Knockomson, Ms. Kirby, who are also here with Ms. Solomon, and Ms. Banta couldn't be here, but her students are represented tonight. So thank you so much.
I would just like to take a moment to thank all of the students for coming out tonight. It really takes a lot for you to come out and do a presentation like this in front of all of the spectators. I want to just let you know that we really appreciate you coming out. We think you did a fantastic job. And what I'm so excited about is to see that you're excited about learning math and having a lot of fun. So that's the most important thing, and we encourage you to keep that up. And thank you very much for coming tonight. And I'd also like to thank all of the teachers at Lanning Avenue School who make this a possibility, the support of the parents, and Mrs. DiGiacomo for a great job. So thank you everyone for coming tonight.
We're all welcome to stay. The rest of this may not be as riveting, but but if you want to use a couple minutes to get going now, good time to leave. We'll give you a couple minutes to get out of here.
Thank you everyone for coming out. Oh, that would be fabulous. I would love it.
Is he gonna use it?
How are you?
All right. Good job, Pat. You just turn it, I'll turn it. Nice comment.
Really nice job. Very, very great.
That's good.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That was so great.
Okay, next up, we have Paul McDivitt, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, with an update on referendum progress and summer projects.
Good evening, everyone. So, as Joseph said, this was an update on the referendum projects page. So, this first slide breaks out the projects, basically how they were put out to bid, or we have two projects that are still pending bids in April. First project broke out the music room addition, the security vestibules in each school, security window door film, kitchen upgrades at the high school and middle school. And that project's down in Trenton right now, being reviewed for educational adequacy. And once we get that back, that will be going to bid in the next few weeks. These other projects have all been out to bid. The one you'll see there highlighted in red is our bleacher upgrades at Verona High School and Brookdale Avenue School. We have to rebid that project. The two vendors that submitted bids were both rejected by our board attorney for deficiencies in their bid. It was basically paperwork that they didn't submit properly, but it was to a degree where the board attorney could not agree to go forward with the project as it was. So that'll go out to bid again in the next few days, and we'll anticipate probably a 3-week timeline to rebid that project. The one other remaining project to be bid still is the basement repairs at the high school, middle school, Brookdale and Forest, and that'll be going out in the next few weeks as well. We'll have those bid results probably in the middle of April. The mechanical upgrades, we had the bid opening for that today, so that went off to the attorney today for attorney review prior to the award. Technology upgrades, this is the one project that we currently have in progress. The project is largely complete at this point, but there's a balance of the work that will not be able to be completed until the vestibule and exterior door work is completed this summer. And that's when we'll be able to finish up some camera installations, the visitor management systems at the newly created vestibules, and then some of the access controls that are going to be relying upon new doors that are going to be going in at different locations in all the buildings. This is just an example of the switch replacements that took place throughout the district. These are just two snapshots of a couple of different IDF closets. The significant thing to see here is, if I jump ahead to this slide, this is just an indicator of the cabling management, or the lack of cabling management that we obviously wanted. We've also color-coded cabling for different purposes that serve, like the wireless access points, the data lines in blue, our phone systems are in white, our access controls are in purple, so it'll make it easier for us to manage everything going forward. Just to highlight some of the other technology upgrades, wireless has been a big addition to our technology repertoire in this year. Obviously, the district essentially had no wireless up until this project, and we were get this project installed, the wireless aspect, just in time to begin park testing. So that worked out well, all things considered. It wasn't easy, but we were able to pull it off. Didn't come up without some bumps on the road. Anytime you introduce new technology, it creates some growing pains along the way. But we were able to come through it pretty smoothly, all things considered, and park testing's gone pretty well as a result. The picture on the left is the high school main gym, obviously, and you can tell by the banners. But in there we have an AP 275. It's called a rugged AP. It's made to withstand an environment like a gymnasium, so it doesn't require any additional guard or shield. We had a couple of work requests put in from one of the schools to put cages around the APs and the cameras, but it was kind of defeating the purpose. It would interfere with the signal, if nothing else. And on the right, just a typical AP. You can see them on the ceilings in this room. There's 3 in this room. And that's just to provide the level of coverage we need for testing or for other purposes of the daily environment of the high school. Some other upgrades that were done over the winter break. A new phone system was installed, a ShoreTel phone system. Same thing, there was a little bit of a learning curve for the end users when it was initially installed. It was just a little bit different than the Cisco system that was previously in place. But yeah, at the end of the day, we feel this is a much more user-friendly system, and replacement cost on these phones is a third of what the Cisco phones were, so it helps us in a few different ways. The other thing that the ShoreTel system provides us is basically a way to integrate our phone communication system with our public address system at the high school. The Bogan box you see on the right-hand slide, that's the upgraded system that we installed over the break. When I jump ahead, this is the elephant in the room that was taken out. And when we open up those closet doors, you can see there was thousands of cables coming out of the back of that tower. And now we've slimmed it down to this small box that now resides in that same closet. And this has solved a lot of issues for us with regards to lockdown, with regards to the public address system functioning properly and being able to communicate properly with the school in terms of any emergency response or any lockdown necessary to call a lockdown. The public address was intermittent at best and just didn't function in a lot of the classrooms up until we installed the new phone system and this new PA system. So that was a big improvement. Some other security upgrades, like we talked about with the camera systems and the visitor management systems. So we've got 120 cameras installed throughout the district now, and A+ Technology and Security, our partner on this project, they're in the process of configuring all these cameras, and they should be ready to hand that off to us in the next few weeks here, where we can go live with this new camera system. The picture on the left is of an iSonus card reader. So this is going to be the access control system that's going to be in place throughout the district at about 29 locations. And basically this is going to allow us to use our ID cards as an access control card reader. You go up, you scan your ID, and that's going to allow you access. And the beauty of the system is going to allow us to control access depending on the building location, specific doors, specific users, and we'll be able to customize that and tailor it to whatever the administration and board see fit. On the right is the Cisco FastPass visitor management system. Like I said, this will be going in place as the vestibules go in at the schools. But what this will do is it gives a very rapid response to the swiping of a driver's license, and you get a very quick turnaround on a background check to just flag any people that you wouldn't necessarily want to allow into your school on a daily basis. And it'll be in a controlled environment in these new vestibules, so we can stop someone right at the front entry before they ever get into the actual school with this system. Just moving on to the mechanical system upgrades. These are just a few photos of what we have currently. On the left is our fire tube hot water boilers that are in the boiler room here at Verona High School. On the right is the original pneumatic panel from 1956. So that pneumatic panel actually still operates Majority of the classroom unit ventilators, the air handlers in the gymnasiums, and some other equipment that's still located throughout the building. And this is the only school that still is reliant upon pneumatics. So with the mechanical upgrades we're going to be eliminating all the pneumatics in the building. Pneumatics, when they first go in, work very well, and it's a reliable system, but as you start to develop leaks in your pneumatic system, they become very difficult to locate, and then you just essentially lose all your efficiencies and ability to control your equipment. Most of the equipment that we're looking to replace right now is between 60 and 40 years old, depending on whether it was part of the original construction of high school in 1956 or with the additions that went on in 1975, including this space. So it addresses a number of concerns with regards to indoor air quality and energy efficiency. And this is what the boiler room will look like after the work's complete. So on the left are Airco high efficiency condensing boilers. This was specified in the bid documents for the new work. So we're going to reduce the size or the scale of our hot water system down probably to a third of what currently exists with the two Cleveland Brooks boilers. And then on the right is an existing automated logic DVC panel. DVC is direct digital control. So some of the equipment that we have in the high school currently that was installed during the last referendum is already on this panel. Everything that's brought in new, whether it be unit ventilators, air handlers, or rooftop equipment, will all be tied into the same panel and allow us full digital control of all the equipment with set schedules, set temperature, and control the equipment remotely. The field project, Frederick Pearl Associates is in the process of developing a full site plan for the local planning board's review. This was the result of the November planning board meeting where they decided not to review the project. This site plan will address any potential variance issues related to the project. And now we're projecting a January 2016 bid date for the project to go out for bid. Another thing I want to speak about tonight is the Energy Savings Improvement Program that we're involved in. This is a real boon to our referendum because it's going to allow us to tackle a lot more work than we had initially ever had in the original scope of the referendum. It's basically about a $3 million project that will augment the referendum that we're already involved in. And it's going to address the other 5 schools in the district, all to some degree. Some of the biggest things that's doing are LED lighting throughout the district. Every fixture will be switched over to LED. New high efficiency boilers at Landing Avenue School. Upgraded burner controls at the other 5 schools, not Verona High School, since that project is still part of the referendum. Upgraded building management systems at the 5 schools. Venting and computer miser systems just to help curtail our energy consumption. And then other ECMs, energy conservation measures, which go into smaller detail, but are still system-wide. And then this is just an indicator of the savings we will be looking at just from the lighting replacement piece alone. The gym lighting was replaced in the high school main gym over the February break, and basically we took out the 400 watt metal halide fixtures that were in there, installed 200 watt LED fixtures. So it might be difficult to make out, but the data on the bottom shows the increase in efficiencies. So we're gaining another 77% output in foot candles, like foot candles. So if you were in that gym prior to that project being implemented and you go in there after it's been done, the change is significant. Anyone from the high school staff and anyone that uses that facility can tell you what a dramatic difference that lighting upgrade made. And then to go beyond the light output, it's the cost savings as well. And this is what makes the ESA program so attractive, is that we're going to, just on that one gymnasium alone, we'll see about $4,000 in energy savings just from the gymnasium. So when you take that across the whole district and think that we're going to be both increasing our light output and reducing our energy consumption, it really sells itself. So to summarize, 2 categories of building-based projects still remain to be bid in April. To date, projects already that have been bid are on or under budget, so that was very good. As we got the bid results coming in, we saw that we're getting good contractors at good prices in relation to our cost estimates. And the work related to technology and security has gone well to date. The balance of the work we completed in conjunction with the exterior door and vestibule projects that I mentioned earlier. With the exception of the field project, all our projects remain on schedule for completion. All projects have an anticipated completion date of September 2016. Any questions?
So, quick question for you, Mr. McDevitt. So, with for the work that's still to be done, various stages of bids and scheduling and all of that, based on your experience, what are the, if any, what are the few things that you are most concerned about where there could be unknowns that are against this? So, clearly, getting a bid document back and bids are not involved. I mean, that we're past that by and large, with the exception of the few ones.
That's
What are
correct.
the elements of work that you know these?
Well, I think, there's a contingency built into each project, and when we say that we're either on or under budget, we're not tapping into that contingency yet, so that's an upside for us. The project, most of the projects are pretty straightforward, but I don't anticipate a whole lot of incentives to tap into contingencies. The one project that could be the potential outlier to that is the mechanical project here at the high school.
That's the plumbing.
Yeah, it's removing a lot of the existing piping, it's getting into all the nooks and crannies of this building, it's removing equipment that's 60 years old, and so it's just a complex project. If there's one project that would have the potential to have scope creep, I guess you would say, that's the one. And the other ones are all fairly straightforward, where I don't anticipate a whole lot of problems along the way.
And you, from your seat, just as the director of the DHA, are you comfortable with how this is running so far? Anything we should be doing differently?
I don't think we could necessarily be doing anything differently. I mean, the biggest thing is stay on top of our architects and engineers, make sure that they're doing their jobs. Just the nature of their work, they get spread in a lot of directions, so we have to make sure they're staying focused on our project, making our project a priority. But that being said, the town's been very cooperative in streamlining the process for getting our projects reviewed and making sure that we're not going to be held up on the back end with getting the work actually completed. So that's an upside. With regards to the impact for summer programs this summer, we've had a discussion with the administration. Verona High School is going to be largely shut down, and those programs will be relocated mostly to H.B. Whitehorn for this summer. But all the schools will be impacted to some degree, and there'll have to be some precautions taken to safeguard the students, safeguard the staff, and just ensure a safe environment. Brookdale and Forest, essentially there'll be no programs taking place there, so with the nature of the work going on there, it really is prohibited to even bring kids there. So we're taking all the necessary precautions to make sure everyone's safe this summer, but we're able to still host the programs, which is a challenge, but it's a good challenge.
Just based on the bidding schedule, are we confident that the vestibules and music additions and the security windows, door films, and all those will happen on time over the summer?
They'll happen on time. I mean, with the music room addition, there's no question that it's going to spill over into the start of the school year. We've already had that discussion with Eric Lynch, and same thing, we're making accommodations to basically have to relocate it probably for the month of September, and just make sure that works completely and safe before he enters the space. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, those projects, they're pretty small in nature. They won't take long to complete. And that's, my job is to stay on top of the contractors once they get started and make sure that they're complete as best as possible for the opening school.
Yeah, the reason why I asked, I'm just trying to imagine, especially with music room addition and I guess the vestibules will be done, but with traffic on coming up,
Sampson?
Yeah, it would be a bit of a...
Well, the work's really off of the street. I don't think it'll be a question of, the street, being inaccessible. It'll be more of just, again, like safeguarding that area by the music ramp. That entrance won't be able to be used at the end of the school year, most likely, so we'll have to create alternative entrances. I mean, they already exist, so we'll just have to divert people to the safest entrance at that point. You know, there's gonna be a new vestibule created there, so there's gonna be a significant amount of work going on between the addition, the renovation of the existing space, and then creating this new vestibule. So, the start of the school year might be a little bit of a challenge just for redirecting people, but everything's gonna be able to go on, obviously.
Seems like it's going to be a busy summer, but
Absolutely.
But I want to commend you for keeping things moving and pushing it, and you and the staff and the maintenance staff. But no, this is a great update, and I appreciate it, and thanks for continuing to get things moving, and look forward to having it all completed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's giving an update now is kind of frustrating for me because obviously we want to show that we've got more work to do already, but that's just part of the process. I mean, if I give another presentation like this in the fall, we'll have a lot more to talk about that's physically out there as opposed to just pictures on a slide.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Mr. Deputy.
Okay, let's do superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to highlight that we've had a couple of really nice events that have gone on in the district lately. I wanted to recognize the efforts of all the people involved with those. Last week at Bella Gente Restaurant on Bloomfield Avenue in Verona, there was the Verona Foundation for Educational Excellence, the VP Soiree. It was a great turnout by the adults there. It was wanted to thank VP for organizing that event. Great way to help raise money and awareness around the grants for our students here in the Verona schools. And thank you to Mr. Freund for providing music and for Bella Gente to be able to provide and host that event there for us as a venue. I'd also, along the same lines of the would like to extend a very appreciative thank you to them for a recent grant that there's actually a board resolution on tonight. It's resolution number 8. I believe it's the largest grant to date that VFE has awarded. And the VFE grant is a Renaissance fair entitled Knights, Castles, and Dragons, Oh My, for our K through 4 elementary students across the entire district. And the grant will allow our students to learn about the Middle Ages and Renaissance from an interdisciplinary approach. They'll learn about science and social studies, music and art and physical education, all around reading and literacy. All of the different subject areas are going to be touched on, and it promises to be a very exciting event. The grant funds will go to support books for our students. Will also go to provide a Renaissance Fair type festival that will come to our elementary schools over 2 days in April. I believe the dates are April 17th and 18th. So our staff is diligent in that work to organize these events for our students. It's a district-wide K through 4 event. It has the impact on 800 of our elementary students. So that's a pretty significant impact across the district. And I just wanted to congratulate and recognize Carissa Walker and Katie McAuliffe, our 2 elementary librarian media specialists who coordinated the drafting of this grant along with the support of our elementary principals and our elementary teachers. So kudos to them, congratulations, and big thank you to VP for being able to provide this support. March 12th was a cappella night that took place at VHS. That was a partnership between the VHS vocal program and the HBW vocal program, the acoustic students at HBW. It was organized by our vocal teachers, Mrs. Hamilton and Mrs. Shivist, and it was in partnership with an a cappella group called Give Me 4 from Essex County, and they're a barbershop quartet. They did an absolutely wonderful job of coming to each of our schools and working closely with our students, and then being able to support them in a cappella singing in preparation for this wonderful performance that took place on March 12th. So congratulations to our students for doing a fine job of performing. You'll see tonight in our resolutions that we have quite a bit of curriculum work. It's a compilation of all of the work that's been completed over the past 10 months or so, and it is an extensive amount of curriculum work, and that's just a testament to all of the wonderful instructional and pedagogical focus that our district instructional staff, our teachers, and our administrators have had since last summer, and that is an indication of all the great things from a curriculum standpoint for the 14-15 school year. And some of that curriculum work has just been finalized, and we're getting that approved tonight in our resolutions. This summer, of course, we will ramp it up again, and we have plenty of other curriculum focus areas that we will pay attention to. May 3rd, we have the Harlem Wizards event that's going on, and that will be taking place here at VHS. Some information has been distributed to the district, parents, and to the staff. I encourage everyone to come out. It promises to be a wonderful event. I'd also like to recognize a technology company who's been supportive of us, and we've utilized for some technology work and for devices in the district. CDW has decided that they were going to be able to donate 2 Google Chromebooks for a raffle for that event, and that's very much appreciated by the district SCA groups, so that way we can have those raffled off around the technology focus for the district. And tomorrow night is the VMAC Family Night, so it promises to be an opportunity for parents to have a much more low-key schedule with their children and enjoy some family time together. And just a reminder that schools are closed on Friday, April 3rd for Good Friday. And that's all for the superintendent.
Just one thing, can I, Ms. Steele, you had sent me a note about Give Me 4. They were going on to, this isn't from the acapella thing, they were going on to a competition the very next day.
Yes.
And they sang a couple of pieces here as
Right.
we were the trial audience for them, right?
Sort of.
And you sent me a note, and I don't remember the specifics, but they did very, very well.
They weren't happy with their score because they thought they deserved a better score, but it was good enough to put them into the next round, which is the international championships in Pittsburgh this summer.
In the summer. So they got through this round, they advanced to the next round, which is national barbershop
Yeah.
acapella championship. Okay.
Fantastic.
Yep. And they were ever the Fab Four there. The kids absolutely were enamored with them. They were great. They were great people for the students. They absolutely loved the time practicing and all. And when they took the stage, the kids just went crazy. So it was really good.
Well, I saw David tonight, and he enjoyed the kids. All the them.
That's great. Okay. I'm not sure how many committee reports we have tonight. Is just finance?
Finance committee.
Okay, so just before we do finance committee, on community resources, I just mentioned that we did have a subcommittee meeting with the township council last week, early last week. The board was represented by Mr. Dionisio and Mr. Bellino and myself, and attending from the township was Mayor Manley, Councilman Ryan, and town manager Mr. Martin. And the topics that we covered, the meeting was about a little over an hour, and the topics that we covered were, we introduced our district fact book, which we had presented here publicly. It's on the main page of our website, just to illustrate our goals and objectives and accomplishments for the district. To the council side, and we provided copies they can share with the other remaining council members as well. We reviewed our B&G maintenance and repairs plan, which is not to be mixed with the 5-year facilities plan. It's a subset of that. These are maintenance and repair type items, sort of imminent items that need attention. And what Mr. McDivitt does for us is he maintains a 5-year look forward on that. So even though it's not possible to predict when the next window is going to break, so to speak, we do know that there are certain facilities that are going to need tending to in the coming years. So he goes out about 5 years for that. So we reviewed that with the council just as an illustration of some of our needs. Mr. Dionisio reviewed a trio of high priority, non-buildings and grounds related priorities for the district that we, again, would continue to struggle with in our funding and to accomplish. And then finally, we presented the council with a draft of a shared services agreement that we had our attorney provide to more formalize and publicize what sharing the Board of Ed and the township do together for each other, and how that will get memorialized. And that way we're all speaking from the same question. So there were a few takeaways. The biggest of which was to give some food for thought for some considerations on select those items on the priorities needs for the town to consider some assistance for in some shape or form. And also there's a review meeting just to get the township side and the board event side, Mr. Dini said, Mr. McDivitt, the outreps, to carry forward with the next stages of the site plan review and all the rest of the coming weeks. Finance committee?
Yeah, the finance committee did meet tonight, and as we said at the last meeting when we approved the preliminary budget, is that over the next 2 months, we will be reviewing the preliminary budget and making some changes to it and updating it as we go along. The timeline on the approval of the final budget is in early May, so we have the rest of, we have the next two, besides this one, the next 2 meetings to review whatever changes, actually 3 meetings, since we don't have to approve it until, I think, the first meeting in May. So we did hear for some recommended changes by the superintendent in terms of what he wanted to do in terms of improvement of some of the programs. What we did ask for at this point in time was to go back and to look at the tax levy and how the full tax levy that the board is responsible for will impact each other. We mentioned at the last board meeting that we are refinancing our long-term debt, and that there will be some savings. I think it was about $180,000 a year. So we want to look at what the savings is in the debt service tax levy and how the general fund tax levy will interact with that. So that's where we're at this point in time. We're looking at various parts of the budget which may be require some upgrades and some improvements as the superintendent sees fit, and then how the whole tax levy, general fund tax levy, will impact the entire tax levy, which includes the debt service tax levy as well. So we have the next 2 meetings, we'll be discussing this to some minor extent, and then before the public hearing on the budget is presented at the first meeting in May. So that's where we stand at the present time. We're still reviewing things.
Quick question. You said there were some suggested changes.
Yes.
I didn't see, is this something you could share with us?
Why don't you just pass
We don't say it. I mean, say now or just.
We have, some of them are personnel related, so we don't want to.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, not now, but if you can share with me,
Okay.
sometime.
So
over the next meeting.
The next couple of weeks will allow us to have a better handle on if some of the recommended changes are going to be possible.
Okay.
So at that point, we'll be able to share them if they are going to be possible. But they do involve some personnel changes as far as taking a look at some of the existing programs that we have in the district and seeing if we could expand them academically in the classroom in order to provide some better, more focused services for our students across some different areas.
Okay. So once we do the analysis, you'll be able to come back. Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay. All right, resolutions. Oh, I'm sorry, we do have we have one resolution to table on the calendar, right? Maybe we should do the comment on the calendar. All right, so we're going to table number 6, and one of the things that that I asked Mr. Dionisio to lay out of our confidential meeting was, would it make sense, unless anybody disagrees or has an opinion one way or the other, would it make sense to do a quick survey over the next week or so? Just get a survey out to parents, very simple thing, to the websites and out an email on the calendar. And an issue, a question that the board has with the proposed calendar, reinstates the week break in February. So, but it maintains the week break in April. Those are 2 great things, because you'd be off a week in February, you'd be off a week in April. February 8th.
But also for holiday break for December as well.
Well, right, me too. The dilemma that creates is, because we need to provide for 184 school days, we'll be ending school another week later than we currently. So the question, getting some signals from the audience and it's not steel toilet paste, right? So,
It's not slide.
that's slide, that's right. So, so the dilemma that we have as a board is this. We do get here, you know, there's, you can get two people in a room about this and get 11 opinions. So, what we might do is give some thought to doing a quick survey to see, does anybody really feel strongly one way or the other? Our sense is that the bias would be to cut back one of those weeks, probably the February week, and bring in the end of school by another week. Because that way, instead of having days at the end, towards the end of the year, after most of the year of lessons, after most of the year of testing, after most of the year of corrective actions, after most of the year interventions and all the rest, better to use those days early in the year when all the activities are happening and just bring in the tail end of the year. But the board, I did encourage Ms. Freshy, as an example, as a new board member, take the calendar home. I've done it. It's good quiet time when you have nothing else to do, and try to look at the calendar. And it's a very, very difficult puzzle to solve. To get the 184 days where you have the following parameters. You can only start September 1st or later. You must end by June 30th or sooner. Here's the list of all the holidays. Here's the list of the professional development that you must do. And you need to bury in there 3 snow days. Or 4 snow days. 4 snow days now. And then go. And it becomes very, very tricky. So we're going to table that for tonight. And maybe by the next meeting we'll have some adjustment to that.
Absolutely, and I'll pull a survey together, and we'll try to get that out this week, so that way we can get some feedback from parents on that.
Yeah, what you might want to come up with, and I'm not going to tell you what to do, is maybe a couple of alternatives that we have in the past. We've been presented two calendars, and what do you think about this? What do you think about that? That helps you. If it's something feasible, fine. Would be willing to sure, but as we did tonight, so it's up to you whether, unless you see that there is a road to the end that we're looking for, I'll be certainly up to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's do resolutions.
Resolve that the board approve resolutions 1 through 22 and addendum number 1 and tabling resolution number 6.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mr. Polino, seconded by Mr. Day. Any questions?
Yeah, I do. On resolution number 8, the DP grant, what are the 2 elementary schools?
It's actually all 4 elementary schools.
What is the 2
Because when we have the Renaissance Festival, they will have them on one day located at one school and another day located at the other school. But we're going to be transporting, busing the students to that one school, and they'll spend the majority of the day there together in order to celebrate and partake in all of the educational activities. And that's when they'll also be presenting the projects as the culminating activities as well.
I had a question too on item number 7, resolution 7, for the audio. I was just curious about the cost on that instead of just the audio for the one day for graduation.
It is, and that's something that, on average, when you're just doing typical audio for a high school graduation, the numbers are usually running around $4,000 to $5,000. But because we do more of an audio-visual presentation as well, that increases the cost. So that comes with an associated cost. So that's why it's about $1,800.
Stuck out for me.
It did for me as well.
That's a good stereo.
Yeah, it's the reason I know that is because I talked to Mr. Cisa about it in regards to why that number was a little bit more on the high end than what I'm used to. I recall having the audio-visual piece, but not having any of the multimedia presentation, so that does significantly increase it because they have to bring in additional equipment and much more wire that's associated with that presentation.
And I have a question on resolution number 2. Why is this one person in 2 different rates? I'm not sure what the distinction is.
So So that's based on the number of days. So the same person on that first day, on those first, the date is 4/13 to the 17th, they're going to be in as a substitute in the transition with the current classroom teacher to support the transition, so that way.
Also, there's one rate during transition time, one rate as a sub.
That's right, and then after the holiday break, the April break, that's when they'll be there on the per diem week.
And resolutions 3 and 4 will be, have employee ID numbers, is that the new numbering?
That's the new numbering system, that's the state identification number. Instead, we used to use the last 4 digits of the social security number.
Okay, let's call the roll.
Mr. Day?
Aye.
Mrs. Bresky?
Aye.
Mr. Yunus?
Aye.
Mr. Molina,
Yes.
Mr. Quattro?
Aye. Okay, we'll open up to public question or comments.
So it wouldn't be a meeting without one, right? Joanna Whiteblock, 14 Woodland Avenue. Two quick things. First of all, input on the calendar, okay? February, and this is what I'm actually hearing from some of the parents too, is they prefer a short February, end reasonably, how we end in June, primarily also because it's so hot in the classrooms, and the kids come out and they're not really learning anything or absorbing anything because it's just so unbelievably hot, unbearably hot in there. So my input, short February week, and we're good. I had a quick question on the field. Last meeting, even today, Mr. McDevitt had mentioned that we're looking at the field project going out to bid in January 2016, completion in 2016. And that is based off of full site plan from French and Perillo because of planning board stuff. My question is, because we've gone to full site planning, will there be any change to the plan, or will the overall project be what was voted on?
Okay, so I'll answer your question in a couple of points. So the first thing is the movement of the date has its roots first and foremost in getting the Department of Ed approval post the last planning board. So we got the green light and all done and dusted from the DOE, just so something called at the beginning of Feb. So we already missed it January, so the date in just getting the DOE approval. We need the DOE approval in order to get to the point of getting to variance approvals. That's one. So right then and there, we lost the window to do the field for this year unless we wanted to do construction into the fall. And the problem with that is that we would have had to relocate the football season in its entirety and the band festival because we would have been under construction until Thanksgiving or maybe even later. So the decision was if you're going to lose the season and then have a brand new field come Christmas, then you might as well just do it next year. Right? That's one. The second thing is the issue of variances still exists. We do need to get variances on the project. Now, what the engineers are working on are site plans that try to attack and solve the questions on these variances in a couple of different possible ways for the board to consider. We will meet with the planning board to talk about what those options are. Because if the burden is on the Board of Education to prove that the variances are not needed or should be granted. It's not the other way around. Variances are not automatic. Now, and we recognize that there's community concern about that. So the best course of action is to always have a plan B. So the board has got various changes to the plan that will make it maybe slightly more, because the cost will change a little bit as well. Right now, preliminarily, even though the cost will change on the back of the napkin, we should still be okay. And that's why it's important when Mr. McDevitt was going through his presentation, there's still a couple of bids that we're just waiting to get it finalized, because if one of those bids comes back and it's way off and it consumes more money than what we've allocated, then we'll have less money to spend to round out how we want to solve the fields. So there'll be more coming in about the next 4 to 6 weeks, I think.
Okay.
There's going to be a blackout period, I think, too, Joanna, where even though we say we're going to go to bid in January, and the relevance of January at this point is really, that's when it's prudent to just go to bid. That's when you get the attention of the contractors. Like, otherwise, between now and digging holes and what we're supposed to do. Our anticipation is to get this done and dusted by this time the summer rolls around. Then between the summer and January, which just sort of, with everything else, and then January into the bid process is going on. It's not like there's a whole lot of work left to do between now and the bid.
With respect to the upper field in the whole grand scheme of things, I know that in previous meetings it was discussed about having the upper field as, some usage, not replacing it, and not replacing the usage of the lower field for the upper field, but having that field available for some type of utility, and whatever that is, and is it still part of the plan?
Yes, absolutely. So the plan that was voted on, call that the current plan, that was voted on, is all of the lower field plan, as you come to know. And on the upper field, we would recover about, my approximation is about 2/3, give or take, right? Probably more give than take away, but it's about 2/3 of the field. And that field, that recovered part of it would be usable. Practice field, it could be used for a certain demand, etc. We have entertained ways to recover more of the field, and there would be more cost to recover more of the field. And that's one of the things that the engineers are helping us evaluate. Could we recover more than 2/3 of it? What would that give us? What would the longevity of it be?
More cost. Would that also mean that there would be more remediation needed for the upper field? If that were
The 1/3 of it that is not in the original plan is not in the original plan because it does require more remediation. We said, if we're going to sink money into the thing, sink it into the lower field.
Okay.
So if we have to work around the variances and recover more of the upper field, there's a way to do that, and then we have to make sure that all the nickels and dimes line up the right way before we say it's working.
Okay. All right. Great. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. That's the end of our March session of meetings. Our next meeting is Tuesday, April 14th. We have confidential session at 7 o'clock, followed by a public meeting at 8.